Very good morning, students. The last class we completed the first 5 points on preparing a nice cup of tea was given by George Orwell. In the previous class also we have completed author's biography, then introduction to a nice cup of tea, and what are the things he had dealt in that prose, a nice cup of tea. And we have completed the first 5 points because George Orwell has given 11 points, 11 important and 11 outstanding points on preparing tea and also consuming the tea. Clear? In those 11 points we have completed first 5 points, and today we are going to complete the entire 11 points, and now we move to rule number 6, that is the 6th point. Clear? See the first point. Water should be boiling actually at the moment while adding tea powder. Clear? So what he advises that when we are supposed to add the tea powder, at the time of adding tea powder, the water should be boiling. At that condition only we should add tea powder. And next thing that take the tea pot to the kettle. Kettle, a pot, a metal pot for used for boiling. Kettle means what? A metal pot used for boiling. Clear? So in rule number 6, the writer advises that we should add tea powder at the stage when the water is boiling in the teapot. At that condition only we should add tea powder, and we should do only with the kettle. Kettle, a metal pot which is used for boiling. In the kettle only we should do these things. Apart from that we should not go for any other pots. This is all about, he said in the rule number, so there is a 6th point. Now we move to the rule number 7, that is the 7th point, that after making the tea, what we should do? We should stir it, we should shake it. For what purpose we are doing stirring the tea or shaking the tea? The purpose of shaking or stirring the tea is the leaves to be settled. The leaves to be settled. Clear? So in the previous point says that the water should be in boiling condition. At that time only we should add tea powder. When the tea is getting ready, what is the next step we should do? We should stir. We should stir the tea or we should shake the tea. What's the purpose of stirring the tea or shaking the tea? Then only the tea powder, that is yes, then only the tea powder should be settled or to be settled. These are the point he said in the rule number 7. What he has told as a point number 8. This is a very important point, and we people are very much using this rule number 8 alone. He suggests that we should have tea after the breakfast. Once you finish your breakfast, you can have your tea. Why? Because after having the breakfast, we can have more tea. That is, the amount of having tea is more. And suggested to have a cylindrical type of cup. Cylindrical type of cup. He advises us that to have a cup of tea after completing your breakfast, then only we can have more tea. For that purpose, we should use a cylindrical cup of tea. Cylindrical cup of tea. Cylindrical cup. In this much of cup, we can use for our breakfast, after breakfast. So once you finished your breakfast, you can have a tea. For that, you can have your tea in a cylindrical type of cup. Why he suggested to use this type of teacup? Because that type of teacup can hold the amount, there is more amount of tea. than the other teacups, other style teacups. So in 6 point he suggests that we should add tea powder when only at the water is boiling condition. Next, he says that after completing the tea, that is the process of tea, we should stir it, we should shake it. Then only the tea powder should be settled. The tea powder will be settled. And the next point he says that we can have tea when after the breakfast. Then only we can have more tea. For having tea, here he suggests that we can use a cylindrical cup of tea. Why? Because the cylindrical cup of tea can hold number of, that is amount of tea is more. Now we move to point number 9. In point number 9 he says that we people know that very well in our country, especially in Tamil Nadu, in our state, we people are doing this thing, especially in our home. I do not have any cup of tea or milk which has more layers. Before we are preparing the tea, what we are advised to do? We are advised to do that we should remove the creamy layers of milk. Creamy layers of milk. The creamy layers of the milk should be removed. Then only the milk should be used for preparing the tea. Why? Because if a milk has too creamy, it will spoil the taste of tea. It will spoil the taste of tea. Other thing that if you see the tea which has a more creamy layers, it makes us to hate it. It makes us to hate it. Otherwise, it makes us to have somewhat aversion. Oh, it makes some aversion. That means a hate. So we should not have more creamy layers in the milk. Why? Because the too creamy spoils the taste of a real tea. That is point number 9. In point number 9, he says that we should remove the creamy layers of a milk. Then point number 10, he says that should pour tea into the cup first. After preparing the tea, we should pour the tea into where? We should pour the tea into the cup first. The cup first. Here he says that should pour tea. Tea means before adding the milk. In our state we use the word decation. Clear? Without adding milk. Here he highlighted two schools of thought. Two schools of thought. Two schools of thought in the sense there are two people having different kinds of idea in preparing tea. What are the two schools of thought? The first thought is that the milk first school. The milk first school. The next school is what? The tea first school. The tea first school. Milk first school, which means that after preparing the tea, what he is advised us that we should add milk, then we should add the tea, that is decation. Clear? We should add the milk into the cup first. Clear? We should add the milk into the cup first, then we should add the tea color. Clear? That is what milk first school. Tea first school, which means that we should pour the tea, that is the decation. We should pour the decation into the cup first, then we can add the milk. This is the second school of thought. Clear? Do you have any doubt in this area? That is the two schools of thought. What are they? The first school is what? The milk first school. The second is the tea first school. The milk first school, which means that the milk should be poured into the tea cup first. Clear? The milk should be poured into the tea cup first. Then we can add the tea. That is the tea color, that is the decation. The second school, that is the tea first school, which means that we should pour tea into the cup first, then we can add milk. See here, the writer suggests us that we should go for the tea first school. Why he is suggesting the tea first school? Because if we follow this method, the second school of thought, we can regulate the amount of milk. Clear? We can regulate the amount of milk. See, the first, if you pour the tea decantation that is into the cup, the next additionally you can add the milk, so that we can check the milk level. Oh, this is the enough, these are enough. We can check, which means we can regulate the amount of milk. This is very important point. That is rule number 10. The last point that is very interesting. Clear? That is very interesting point. As per in Tamil culture, we should go for this method maximum or 2 weeks. If you do this at the end of the course, what he is suggesting that we should do the 11th point alone continuously for 2 weeks. Then only the real taste of tea can be tasted. He advised us that. Clear? What does the 11th point say? Clear? In 11th point, the writer says that we should drink the tea without sugar, without adding the sugar. Just imagine, because we are fond of tea with sugar only. Without sugar, we do not drink. That is our habit. Am I right? Yes, at your home, at your home, and also at our home, we people are often fond of tea with sugar only. Without sugar, we can't taste the tea. That's the way we have been brought up. We have been bring up. That's the way we brought up. Clear? But what he has said that the tea should be drunk without sugar. For what purpose he is suggesting that without sugar, which means that sugar destroys the flavor of the tea. If you add the tea, it will destroy the real taste of tea. Then there is no need for adding any tea powder. It's just like adding sugar into the hot water and you can have it. Clear? That's why he is strongly suggests that we should have tea without sugar. If you add sugar, means the entire tea flavor and the real taste of tea will be spoiled. If you add sugar, we can't taste the real taste of tea. Clear? And in the previous class I told you that he suggested that what we can add pepper or salt in the tea. Just imagine adding pepper or salt in our tea. It is highly difficult for us. But he says that if you follow it for 2 weeks continuously, you can easily adapting yourself, so can have tea without sugar. Clear? Good. And see, if you sweeten the tea, if you adding sugar into the tea, we people are unable to taste the real taste of tea, Clear? And at last, he is giving some suggestion. Adding sugar into tea, it's like what? Adding sugar into the hot water, hot plain water. You can add sugar into the hot plain water and drink it. If you add sugar, your tea will be like that. Then what's the purpose of adding tea powder into tea? So here he strongly says that we people should not use sugar, and he suggested that at the end of the course we can do it and we can continue doing for 2 weeks. It will be easy for having tea without sugar. So clear, these are the 11 points, 11 outstanding points he has given for preparing tea or as well as consuming tea. I believe that you student can understand the real concept of a nice cup of tea. And in the first day itself, I clearly told that he said that Indian tea is a nice cup of tea. Comparing with other countries, George Orwell clearly told us that Indian tea is a nice cup of tea. Whereas China tea is an economical one, but if you drink it, we can't have any brave or any wise or any knowledge. Clear? If you want to be stimulated, you just can have a tea. But here, George Orwell says that Indian tea is a nice cup of tea. See, these are the 11 points here given in his prose, a nice cup of tea. And you people are advised to go through the textbook question and answers. And this video will be uploaded in your Nitra homework page. Additionally, I will add some synonyms, antonyms, paragraph question and answer, as well as your short question and answer. Because at the end of the week, you will be having a 30 mark weekly test. Clear? It's already. So that today I will upload the video as well as your study materials also. Kindly go through the video, and if you have any doubt, you can call me at any time. Thank you.